Oh, that sounds wonderful. It feels
That
like
sounds so majestic.
it feels like
Oh,
we're back at the Chicago Stadium, but we're not. We're sitting in our homes. But welcome in. This is a brand new thing, the second balcony. I'm Greg Boyce, and I'm joined with my pal Frank Nova, and we decided to do a little Blackhawks podcast this season because there aren't enough of those, and we need to have our opinions heard.
and I'm really excited because I just done a very brief Cubs one, and much like that one, the guy with the full head of hair is wearing a hat, and the bald guy is not. So I'm pretty excited.
Well, I got to keep things,
I go to
usual.
Market Beal's barber.
I didn't want you to feel out of. I mean, you are trying to be the quintessential answer to anytime anybody's playing the game 6 Degrees of Jay Zawaski. You're going to be the
Oh,
quintessential.
who's left that he's working? I mean, I think next time I'll do one with Layla, right?
Yeah, either that or you and Dan McNeil need to host a show together.
All right.
What's Mike Murphy up to these days? That should be fun.
Oh man,
Right.
that'll be after we buy Sports Webio.
There you go, for sure. Well, this is something that years in the making, and I just mentioned Jay. I want to give Jay a little shout out before we get rolling. He was very helpful on a lot of the technical stuff here to get us rolling. So we've made it 2 minutes into the first episode, and nothing's blown up. So thank you, Jay. And we'll probably get him on at some point to talk some hockey. But this podcast kind of came together somewhat quickly, but in hindsight, this is years in the making. Like, why haven't we been doing this before then? For those of you who are kind of newer to the Blackhawks world, Frank was one of the ringleaders back in the Wild West days of the Blackhawks blogosphere of the Stanley Cup runs. 2010s. Back then, podcasting was not really a thing. It was in its infancy. It definitely wasn't as easy to do to where, an idiot like me can just press a button and we're podcasting. You had to use Skype or all these different weird things, and it sounded like you were, talking in either a submarine or a steel cast bathtub half the time.
Oh, anybody who ever listened to CT and I do the podcast will certainly agree that any idiot can do it.
For sure. But back then, you had to write down your thoughts. If you wanted to get your opinions out there, you had to write them down. Like the podcast thing.
Write them down and have Photoshops.
Yeah. And you guys, if you don't remember, Frank was part of the old Hockey Night crew. You've probably seen their Photoshops back in the day, or you probably saw other people stealing their Photoshops and creating them as their own. You guys created the Shawfax trend. That was you guys too. You guys didn't get credit for that, but that was you, Shawfax.
We nominated Shawfax.
Yes. You created the Shawfax. You guys created the Legend of Tank Nugget. We have to do a full episode on that. We'll get to that story. I tried to explain that to Jay and Mario over at CHGO a couple years ago, and I'm like, I can't give it any kind of justice. We just have to find it, and you have to read it. But back then it was you guys at Hockey Night. It was Fells and Killian and that crew doing the Second City Hockey before I took that over. You had all these great blogs.
Fells and Killian, I think, started with one called Here Come the Hawks, and then they took over Second City Hockey. And then Chris Block was doing the third man in, and it was just us.
And then you had Cheer the Anthem was there for a little while. Those guys put out some good stuff for a couple of years.
Oh yeah.
And to be honest with you, like that was right when I was starting to get into blogging, and like you guys, those three blogs, you guys at Hockey Night, Fells and his gang, and Cheer the Anthem, you guys were big influences on me because you guys, were able to not sacrifice like knowledge of the game to be funny or to be satirical. Like you were able to be funny, but also know what you were talking about. So you can learn stuff from reading you guys. Like a lot of the times you read some of these site, they're parody sites. They sacrifice knowledge of the sport just to make a joke. But you guys were masters of being able to explain what you're watching, but also, throwing a good dick or fart joke in there and it worked.
Oh yeah. We were dedicated to making everybody smarter and dumber at the same time.
It was a master plan and it worked.
We always try to make our biggest influence Mad Magazine. Like we had a lot of Mad Magazine, like even to the point where when people got too light-fingered with our Photoshops, that's when we started adding Big Cheyenne in, and he kind of became our Alfred E. Newman.
Yep. There was the Puckcast, the hockey, the Gunna Drinkins at the old Galway Bay were legendary. Oh, yeah. I don't remember any of them, which means I had a great time.
And we raised a lot of money and helped a lot of people. I was very happy about that.
So those were great days. So this has been building up since then. The landscape has definitely changed. You're a Florida man now. You don't even live in Chicago anymore.
That is correct. The closest hockey to me is the Orlando Solar Bears.
Well, good little ECHL is always fun. Maybe you see Dylan Secura down there this year.
ECHL in an NHL building. They play at Kia Center. That's where the Magic plays. So if they at the end of September, the Panthers and Lightning will play a game there, a preseason game, and they'll get 15 to 20,000 in that building for that.
That's awesome. So yeah, that's kind of our story. We've known each other for a long time. And when your Cubs thing kind of fell through, I just sent you a message like, hey, if you want to talk hockey this year, let's do it. And, I'm got all kinds of stuff going on this year. We're going to do this. This is going to be, we're shooting to make this a weekly podcast. Right now we're going to pre-record everything just because it's easier and we don't have a set day or not, especially once the season starts. We're just going to kind of find a day that makes sense that we can actually get together and do it and then make sense in the schedule. So we're going to shoot for a once a week podcast and then we're just going to see where it goes. We'll have maybe some guests someday, maybe not, who knows? We're just going to kind of let this grow organically. So we definitely appreciate everybody tuning into the first episode. Make sure you're hitting the subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, give us a like. That definitely is going to help. If you're listening to the audio version, smart, because then you don't have to look at our two ugly mugs. Please subscribe and give us a 5-star review on Apple.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to like us. You could roast us in the comments, but as long as it's a 5-star review, because essentially a 4-star review is a 1-star review. So just do us the favor, give us the 5 stars and just say, I'm never listening to these two clowns again, but give us that'll work. So it's going to be fun. We're going to see where this takes us. I'm doing all my writing these days at Blackhawk Up. I'm the site expert over there. And that's actually my second run with that group. So that's where my written thoughts are going to be all season long. And
you got a good
this
team
once a week. Yeah, I've definitely got some writers working for me, some contributors, and some guys who've been there for a while. Jim and Todd have been running that site. So should be fun. It's nice to have to work for a site where I don't have to do everything. Those are nice to have some help. And I'm also going to be doing the CHGO post-game shows for all home games. Jay and I will be in studio, and then Mario will call in from the UC. So I'm still getting a chance to work with those guys. So looking forward to a very busy Blackhawks season. And the offseason officially ended this week. Rookie camp, the Tom Kurvers, don't call me Culver's Prospect Showcase from Minnesota went down this weekend. Blackhawks beat the St. Louis Blues 3-2 in overtime in the game that pretty much mattered. That's when all the big prospects played. And then earlier on Sunday, they lost 3-2 late to the Minnesota Wild. Different type of game, a little more physical, but was expected. The Wild always seem to have pudwack prospects. Like the Iowa Wild, always the team in the AHL that just wants to just goon it up all night long, and how many times have the Hawks gone to this thing and someone gets hurt playing against Wild prospects,
Oh yeah.
Kirby Doc a couple of years ago, someone else recently too. So, the Blackhawks Galaxy branded though this week. They decided to hurt each other that first day of rookie camp, and then the Wild can't hurt us if we hurt each other. So they changed the rules this week, with Ty Henry getting hurt that first day, and then we had that whole AJ Spellacy, Aiden Thompson kerfluffle earlier in the week. So let's break down that Kurvers. See, I almost said Culvers again. I got cheese curds on the mind.
See, Tom Kurvers was one of my favorite players, so I'll just always remember it. He's a really good defenseman.
Yeah, longtime NHLer, longtime Minnesota Wild executive. He was the general manager for the Iowa Wild for a long time, so that's why the name is there. Well-respected guy in the sport too. So
yeah, he and Chelly came up with the Canadians together. Like, that's how long ago it was.
Yeah, Chelly looks like he could still play though. Like I saw him today. I was at the Cubs game Sunday, and he was there hanging out with Eddie Vedder in the front row behind home plate. Like, that man has got like the greatest life ever.
Oh yeah, he earned it.
But good for him. All right, what did you think, Frank? What was your biggest takeaway of the 2 days? Who impressed you the most?
Well, it's easy to say Sam Rinzel because he's good. The guy who probably surprised me that I wasn't sure if this guy is going to make it as a pro player or not, but he actually looked really good out there in both games. That's Tage Harding. Big guy. I never thought, like the couple times I'd seen him, I never thought a whole lot of his skating, but I think his skating's improved. In both games, he was really good at taking away space quickly. He's got a big body and he positions himself well. He's showed good reaction. I thought he looked really good today. And both Blackhawks goalies, I thought played really, really well.
For sure.
I didn't get to watch a whole lot of last night, but I watched today, and Flores was really good. And, that third goal was unfortunate, but, he made some amazing saves in a lot of traffic. Nick Lardis played a lot looser today than he did last night. He had a point blank shot that got stopped, but he was in on his own, and he set up Garnier's goal with a nice pass from behind the net. He definitely needs time in the AHL, but he looks like he could be a guy who can generate some points in the NHL. And AJ Spellis, he was out there doing his Tom Wilson stuff.
Hey,
today he it wasn't really a fight. He just kind of did the Brandon Bolig hug fest thing. But he knows that's his ticket to the NHL.
Yeah. I mean, that is going to fast track him to the NHL. But you put in his size and his speed and his athleticism and his willingness to punch dudes in the face. I mean,
yeah,
there's nobody else in the Blackhawks prospect pool that can do all of those things together at the same time. You do have some more of a physical presence coming up. You definitely have plenty of speed. You don't have a ton of size. You got a little bit more size in this year's draft, but he kind of does. He's like that perfect combination. I think he's going to have people excited. And he's a good kid too. A good quote. Oh
yeah,
he's got a bright future ahead of him for sure. Didn't play the third period in Sunday's game for precautionary reasons. I kind of just held him out there. I don't know if he got banged up a little bit, but no reason to force anything at this point. That was a kid that made it to the final cuts last year, stuck around, got a game, then he got two, and then all of a sudden was like, is he going to make this team? No, but they gave him a whirl, and they haven't said it yet, but there has been talk that the change to the CHL AHL rule could go in effect this season, whereas each team can have one 19-year-old loaned to their AHL club, where before no CHL players could play in the AHL 18 or 19, but now possibly as soon, I would think they would tell teams that before training camp starts, if that's actually going to be a thing.
Yeah, I think we'll find out something this week.
But I mean, that's just something to think of. If Spellacy has another big camp, maybe they send him to Rockford instead of sending him back to
Yeah, and it
Windsor.
would
Or
be
Vanacker is a
either
guy that might be able to take
right.
a, he had a rough spot at the end of that game. But to get back to Tage Harding for a second, that's a guy that was kind of like a meh prospect. Was spent a lot of time at Providence, who pretty good program. But has never really been on the radar. Being a Blackhawks defensive prospect these last couple of years, it's hard to get attention because there's so many top level guys. But to me, he is, for many reasons, he's Louis Crevier part two, where yes, big guy, not a lot of expectations, but he's just going to work his ass off and keep progressing. And maybe he's a guy that is that seventh defenseman down the road, or he's a guy that's just gonna, take up a lot of space and eat a lot of minutes in Rockford. I think Sunday's game was better for him because he was pretty much the number one defenseman in that game.
Yeah.
With no Levshunov and no Rinzel, he was the top guy, and he stepped up. He looked better in that game. He had the goal on Saturday night against St. Louis, the first goal from Rinzel's really good cross ice feed. I wrote before Saturday's game, the three things I was going to be looking for these games, because in the grand scheme of things, they mean nothing. Nobody cares about wins or losses. Don't get hurt. Don't ruin your season by blowing out your knee. They don't mean anything. This is not, going 0-2 or 1-1 or 2-0 does not change the trajectory of the rebuild at all. But there were things to watch. And the first thing I wanted to see those guys that have had NHL experience. So Levshunov, Rinzel, Moore, and Ryan Green. I wanted those guys to be the best players of the weekend. And I think it's safe to say that's what we saw. Those guys were head and shoulders above everybody else. So check off that first mark.
I'd be Rinzel wore the C last night and Green wore it today.
And Green was a little rough in the first period against Minnesota, had some turnovers at the blue line, but then second period was a completely different period. Player scored the goal, looked a lot better. I really like Ryan Green. I liked that pick when they made it. I got to see him play a couple of times when he was with Green Bay in the USHL when I was doing some scouting, and I liked him, 4 or 5 years ago, and then playing at BU, being a captain at BU. That's huge for him. I think could be a really good bottom six penalty kill kind of guy on a good team. He's a guy that I think will accept a role. Whatever his role is, he'll go out and do it. You look at the Hawks Stanley Cup teams, guys accepted their roles. Dave Bolin accepted his role. Marcus Kruger. All those guys, all those bottom six
Michael
guys.
Frolik.
Yeah, and you don't win without them. And it's hard for some of these young players when they come out of college or juniors who are their top player at every level they've been at. They've been the guy. It's hard to accept the role of, we don't want you to score goals. Sure, you can. We won't be mad at you, but that's not your job anymore. Your job now is to win faceoffs. Your job now is to play defense. And some guys don't pick that up until it's too late.
Ed Olczyk used to always say, accept and execute.
Yeah, so I think Green can be one of those guys. So, Rinzel all week was a men against boys, playing with his food out there. Even at rookie camp in practice, everything is just so smooth and so effortless. And his head's always up, and he's just got, never looks under pressure. Didn't in the NHL last year. So I think he's a guy that's never going to have the joy of ordering from Beefarino in Rockford. I don't think he's ever spending a day in Rockford. He's an NHL guy. Yeah, I know it's kind of a lazy comparison, but I don't care. I think he will be the Blackhawks Brock Faber this year.
Okay. I'll take that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they're the same player, but I just mean a young guy stepping in right away, taking up big minutes, and just being a key. I mean, he's already getting some people some buzz for the Calder this year. I mean, there's a talented group of rookies, but if a defenseman on a bad team can have a good year as a rookie, that goes a long way.
Yeah. And the other thing, Scott Powers brought this up. Having him out there, he was the number one defenseman by the end of last season. So if he's going to be your number one, it's going to let Alex Vlasic loosen his game up a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Levsonov looked good this week. It was a little that first couple shifts. They gave up that early goal against the Blues. It was a little rocky, but you expected that. They were rusty, and the Blues had played the night before, so they kind of had a little better idea. But as the game went on, you could see his skating is so freaking good. I mean, it is so smooth. I know, trust me, from doing a daily podcast during the whole draft thing with him and Demidov, it's never that's never going to fully escape him. Those two guys are going to be compared forever by Blackhawks fans. But I think by the end of last year, a lot of that dissipated, where people were like, okay, no, this guy's really good and it's got a huge ceiling, and he got bigger in the off season. When he came out and talked to us after the first day of rookie camp, I was like, oh, okay, that's you left last season a boy and returned a man. Like, put on some weight. And then Oliver Moore looked good that game. He was dangerous every time he was on the ice. That's what you want to see. And then he got the overtime goal. So those guys, I'd be worried if Renzel went out there and was just turning pucks over left and right and didn't know where. And then you'd be like, uh-oh. So the guys you wanted to dominated. That was good. I was interested in watching Lardis. I think the biggest thing for Lardis this year is going to be getting the junior out of him. Derek King used to say that all the time when I covered him in Rockford. You got to coach the junior out of some of these guys. And what he means is like, trying to skate through three defenders, trying to force passes in the middle. That crap can work in Brantford, on a Sudbury Saturday night. That might work. Yeah. See? Let it record be shown. We made it 22 and a half minutes before a Sudbury Saturday night reference was made.
There you go. The girls are playing bingo and the boys are getting stinko.
And we're officially off the rails. But you could get away with that stuff in the OHL. You can't get away with it at this level. It's for Lardis, the quicker he adjusts to that, the better. You're going to see those mistakes. That's fine. I saw a little bit of that in camp this week, trying to force pucks into the middle of the ice, and he needs to be tougher on the puck. Sometimes he's a little easy to get off the puck, but those are hopefully things he learns this year. Playing a year in Rockford, you're going to get pushed off the puck a lot in that league. That is a man's league. But I want to see some of that. We know he's got a shot. And he showed a little bit of his vision too. That pass that he set up on the goal today, that's something that didn't get enough credit for in Brantford, because all you talked about last season was goals, 71 goals, but he still had over 60 assists too. So like he could pass it too. He's got that elusiveness. He's an exciting player, but I think he's got a lot of work to do before he gets there. And the third thing is I wanted to go ahead.
He didn't look as small as I thought he was going to look out there.
No. He's definitely put on some bulk. I remember when we covered that draft for CH Joe. That was the Bedard draft in Nashville. Mm-hmm. And the way they had it was, there was seating on the arena floor for the media. And then they had like the interview pods were like way in the back. So, we had one of us was, at the media room typing away. Another of us was getting the video so Jay was at the interview pods. And at that point they had made like 2 or 3 picks in like 10 minutes. So it was happening. And he's just like, I don't know who these people are. And he text messaged me, there's a small child wearing a Blackhawks jersey. So did they just draft him? I'm like, yes, that's Nick Lardis. I'm like, he looks like somebody's son is lost and just sat at the podium. But he's definitely added some size, and a rather impressive tattoo sleeve on his left arm too. I noticed while we were interviewing. I was like, hey, that's got some serious ink going on now. but yeah, you need to see him. He spent his summer working out with NHL guys, John Tavares, Evan Bouchard, Kevin Ball was one of the guys, Adam Henrique he mentioned, Dylan Cousins. So those are some pros, and said he worked a lot of board battles with those guys. So he knows what he has to do. That's the key. Knowing what you have to get better at is the first step to actually getting better. Just thinking you can walk onto the ice and be an NHL player from day one. Those guys are usually driving Ubers within a year or two.
Yeah.
The third thing I was looking for, I wanted to see some physicality out of the guys that are looking to bring it. We talked about how you got to kind of accept your role. We already mentioned AJ Spellacy. That was one of the guys I wanted to see be a physical specimen out there. We saw that. And the other guy was Aiden Thompson. I think that's part of his game that he needs to really focus on if he wants to get to the next level. He's a good skater. He's a decent offensive player, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to be a 25 goal scorer in the NHL. But if he could get that physical part of his game, that the peskiness, that's going to help him a lot. Get under the opponents. He's got the speed. He can produce at some point, but I think the Hawks have a ton of guys that can do what he does better in the system. So he needs to focus on being a little bit more of a Dave Bolin type player where I used to be a talented goal scorer, but now I'm just out here hitting people in the nuts with my stick because, that's works.
Yeah.
I didn't see a ton of that from him. A little bit. He took a couple stick penalties in that first game. You stop moving your feet, you get in trouble, but playing a full year in Rockford, I think will help him bring that out of him. Hang out with Sammy Savoie and see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. He's a guy who, you're going to have some sandpaper on the team. I mean, it's great when you're Florida and your sandpaper guys are also elite goal scorers.
I punch
Brad
people in the face
Marchand.
and score 50 goals.
Yeah, I mean, it's great when you got that, but you've got to start somewhere. And the other thing is you've got to find your niche pretty quickly because the way the rebuild is going right now is next year, like we're talking about the Kurvers tournament that just ended. Next year, the Kurvers tournament is going to be in Chicago,
right?
And it is going to be like the Oscars because all of a sudden you're going to have Frondell, you're going to have Kanserov, you're going to have Sasha Boisvert, you're going to have all these guys that were first round picks or established themselves in other leagues. They're all going to show up together. Van Acker will probably be at that one again. These are guys that are just going to come out and they're just going to steamroll everywhere. It's going to be so much talent. It's they're going to be going out there with almost an NHL team.
Yeah, and don't forget whoever they draft third overall this year will be part of that. As long as they're not a college player. By the way, Kanserov had a goal and assist today. He's up to 3 points in 3 KHL games. That's a guy I'm excited for. I think he's going to be a real nice player.
Yeah, it's a shame that circumstances beyond his control. He can't get into like the Hlinka tournament and World Juniors and things like that because you'd really like to see him go up against the Team Canada, Team USA,
right?
No fault of his own. He just can't.
No. Yeah.
But one thing I noticed, I saw a picture of him or film of him working out, and he's short, but he is stout. He's got to come in and he's got to be a problem. And he's got no problem getting into dirty areas.
No, I think that was a real good sneaky pick at that draft. And I think as you mentioned, the way this rebuild is coming, it just every year it's waves. You got the Bedard pick in year 2, and that of course got everybody excited. And now that of course also made everybody mad because where's the help for Connor Bedard? It's coming. And it's going to be a lot of it. We started, I think, a lot of the people that were getting angry about Davidson started to turn the volume down on that a little bit those last 9 or 10 games last year when you started to see Nazar become a force when Renzel got here, and Levshunov, and even Korchinski looked better his second time around. You started seeing all these names you've been hearing about for the last 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
They're here, and they're starting to produce, and they're looking like they might be, exactly what we've been telling you they're going to be. And there's only more of that to come. And it's definitely trending in the right direction. Yeah, all these guys aren't going to hit, and all of them, even if they do, they're not going to hit for the Blackhawks. That's how you go out and get help for Connor Bedard, is you stockpile dynamic young players, and you trade from a position of strength. Oh, we've got 7 NHL ready defensemen. Okay, let's package a couple of them and get that dynamic winger who's 26 and is going to be here for 8 years. That's how you do it. It takes longer, but the payoff is going to be great. I've got nothing but confidence in where this is heading. I still want to see Davidson pulling a big fish off the free agency market. There really hasn't been time for that yet. I know people, and I'm guilty of it too, after the Bedard draft lottery, a lot of people pointed to this summer as, hey, maybe that's the year they get their Marian Hossa type deal. But that was also when we thought Leon Draisaitl could be a free agent. Mitch Marner could be a free agent. None of those guys were free agents. This great free agency class went from Nikolai Ehlers being your top free agent. And no offense to Nikolai Ehlers, solid player, but if he's the top free agent of the entire class, it's not that great of class. But we've seen that he can sign his young talent to really good contracts. It started with Vlasic. The Nazar deal is going to turn out to be real good. He just signed Spencer Knight to a 3-year deal, just $5.83 million. So he signed for 4 more years. It's definitely starting to trend in the right direction. And a week like this with all these kids, you got to see some of these guys you've been hearing about, and they're getting close. And it's an exciting time. And I do think he got the coaching hire right. That remains to be seen, but it's definitely an improvement behind the bench heading into this season.
And, the other thing that I think Kyle Davidson's doing, and this is, even if I wasn't a Blackhawks fan and wasn't talking about the Blackhawks with you, hopefully on a weekly basis, he's kind of taking an entirely new approach at team building where, tanking gets you a high pick. And, at some point this year, Blackhawk fans are going to start talking a lot more about Gavin McKenna, just because the Hawks are going to not be great. They're going to be in the lottery, and they're going to have a genuine shot at drafting Gavin McKenna. But in the upcoming draft, as of right now, the Blackhawks have 2 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks. Now, as well as I do, those 3 second-round picks are going to get bundled up with something to become a 3rd first-round pick.
Yeah.
Because one of the things Kyle Davidson loves to do is, it's almost like Moneyball, where Moneyball was all built around OBP and advanced analytics and things like that. He has put a value. I'm sure they've got an algorithm that puts a value on draft picks, and a pick in the 20s in the first round has more value than 2 picks in the second round. And they've been operating under that basic principle, which is why, they moved up into the first round, late first round this past summer to get West. And they've been doing that every year, like that late pick in the first round. They keep moving up. So there's been like 3 first rounders every year. So they're just flooding the system with high-end talent. And one of the things is that every year their 3rd first-round pick is a guy that they can wait for. Mm-hmm. Give him time to develop. And that's how Sam Renzel became Sam Renzel. And, West is going to be 3 years away. But, he's got to go to a good college. He's finishing up high school this year. Then he's going to go play for Green Bay, right?
Fargo, right?
Fargo, you're right.
Fargo, yeah.
For Fargo.
Green Bay, Fargo, whatever.
He's going to be in the USHL. But when he's done with that, he's going to go to MooU. So at that point, 2 years at Michigan State after another season in the USHL, they're going to have a really finished product that they can afford to wait for. And because he's in college, they don't, they don't even have to think about an ELC for 3 years for this kid. which is
Right.
really great. And, you know, you're seeing guys, you know, I've already brought up Sasha Bovera. He's a guy I'm really high on. I really think he's going to be something. I mean, he was so good as a freshman at North Dakota. Now he's going to BU. 200-foot center, and you know, spends his summers working out at his dad's UFC gym. So anybody wants to try him, be my guest.
Yeah.
You know, you'll get that same rude awakening that happened when people found out that Artemi Panarin studied martial arts.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see who the first person to make that mistake is.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe it'll be AJ Spelling.
It could be. Could be. And an underrated thing about Mason West, you mentioned after this season, he'll go to Michigan State. Who's the head coach over at Michigan State these days? It's Jared Nightingale's brother.
Oh, you're right. I forgot. Jared Nightingale. Yeah, because he coached Levshunov at Michigan State.
Yeah. So you're going to have your AHL coach's brother be his head coach. Like, that's basically having him in the AHL at that point.
I know. And one of the things I've noticed is the Blackhawks they like to keep their prospects concentrated. So a few years ago, it just so happened, coincidentally, that you had Colton Dock, Nolan Allen, and Kevin Krasinski all playing for Seattle in the WHL, all playing for the Seattle Thunderbirds. They keep taking guys that play for Brantford. I mean, sure, it's easy because they even talked about it today on the broadcast, that they're scouting their guys in Brantford anyway, and they see somebody else they like.
Yeah.
So that sort of thing will happen. So when you've got multiple guys in the same place, you know, it's easier to monitor the progress, things like that. That's what really surprised me with Jack Pridham. Was originally going to leave Kitchener and go play for BU. And I really thought that the Blackhawks would have been happy with that because he again, Boisvert, he would have been at BU with Boisvert. They would have had two guys playing in the same program, possibly skating on the same line. I don't know. I think Boisvert would be a first liner. I don't know that Pridham has that kind of ability. But still, two guys at the same place. Now Pridham's going back to Kitchener, which, you know, I don't know if that's the best idea in the world because I think being a smaller fish in a bigger pond at a place like BU would probably be better for his development. But, you know, this is why I'm sitting here on a podcast, not being a general manager for an NHL team.
Yeah. It was a curious move for sure. I was hoping he'd go to BU for a lot of reasons, a lot that you just said. But Kitchener is a lot closer to home for him. He's an Ontario boy, and he really enjoyed his time there. So, you know, you can't. I'm never going to fault the kid for wanting to stay closer to his family. So, and I think he kind of wants to get that entry level contract and you know, try and get professional earlier. That's going to be difficult for him. I liked a little bit of what I saw. He had a pretty good first two periods against the Blues, and then that third period didn't notice him quite as much. But you know, if he goes to Kitchener and lights it up, I mean, it's not, you know, it'd be good for him. He could still do the college thing, you know, after this year, maybe go do a year at BU next year if, you know, the Hawks aren't quite ready to sign him. Plenty of options. The whole junior NCAA AHL landscape, it's
very nebulous.
It's going to be very crazy these next few years as it kind of sorts itself out, because we're seeing so many kids make that jump to college. You know, Gavin McKenna's going to Penn State, and all these other CHL kids are now going the NCAA route, which frankly, that's the way to go, especially like for defensemen. We've seen this trend in the NHL now for a couple of years. We've seen it with the Blackhawks that defensemen that go play 2-3 years of NCAA hockey just show up ready to go.
Oh yeah.
We saw it with, you know, Rinzel last year, Brock Faber, Cale Makar. I mean, Cale Makar was ready to go no matter where he played. He's a special talent. But, you know, you get these guys that go play a year or two in college, and the jump to the NHL is not as big as it is going from juniors. So lots of good things happening Blackhawk wise. I think for some people it was tough to see long term. I get it. I get it. Blackhawk fans are tired of losing. Blackhawk fans are tired of wondering if they're going to have the number one overall pick. But these things take time, and the first round pick, Kyle Davidson walked into his first NHL draft with 0 first round picks and made 3.
Yeah.
Got Kevin Korchinski, Frank Nazar, and Sam Renzel in his first draft, and Peter Mrazek. He was given Peter Mrazek to take out to draft Sam Renzel. And the only draft he's had since he didn't get 3 first round picks was that first or the second draft when he got Bedard and more. And he was trying to trade up to get more, and more than fell to him at 19. So he's going to keep doing what he's doing, and that's the way to do it, because just waves of guys. If it gets to a point where you got to say goodbye to a veteran you like, or you don't want to pay market value for whoever coming off his entry-level deal, then you've got another guy that can come up and do what that player does at a cheaper price. The salary cap is not going to be the albatross that it was for a while. And especially the way Davidson's been handling his younger players. That Vlasic deal is going to be a bargain.
Mm-hmm.
The Nazar deal is going to be a bargain, maybe as soon as year 1. And that I really like the Spencer Knight deal. That he gave Spencer Knight a 3-year extension, $5.833333 million. And I like that it's only 3 years. It gives Spencer Knight a chance to get another big deal in a couple of years, but it also gives the Blackhawks time to figure out their goaltending long-term situation. Because
maybe it's Spencer Knight. But if it is, you've already got it, Spencer Knight.
Right.
And if it's not, I mean, Soderblom has 2 years, right? He got 2?
2 years, yeah.
And now in Rockford, Drew Comessel's got to be a little frustrated because he's like, what have I got to do? He looked solid in Rockford.
He had a good second half of the year.
Yeah.
He got that ankle injury in January. When he came back from that, he was really good.
Yeah. So, and maybe it's the sort of thing where Kyle will tell him, look, we don't know what's going to happen at the NHL level. There could be injuries, or, somebody decides they really want Arvid Soderblom, in which case you're going to be backing up Spencer Knight in the NHL. And, any goalie would rather be backing up in the NHL than starting in Rockford.
Absolutely. And don't forget that, you got Adam Guyan developing. I mean, he's years away, but that's another second round pick used on a goaltender. This Brezhnoy that they brought in that played the first Kurvers game looked really good. He's going to be in Rockford this year.
Yeah, he's backing up. He's going to be backing up Comesso.
And don't forget, allegedly, Laurent Brossoit still exists.
I think he's in the cemetery next to Kim Janssen.
Yeah, him and Kim Janssen went fishing together and never was heard from again. I thought I saw him because while the Hawks were doing rookie camp at one rink at Fifth Third, the veterans are skating over on the other side, and I swore it was him on the bench the other day. And then Blackhawks PR said it wasn't him, and I was like, okay, yeah. So who knows? That's a guy. Maybe if he actually can play, you trade. I mean, goaltending is. This is one thing. Another thing I'm going to give Davidson credit for is what he's done for that position since taking over. I mean, for years, Stan Bowman ignored that position. We have Corey Crawford. What do I need a young goalie for?
Right.
I just ignored it. But to his credit, his staff was really good with like European goalies. Those were the guys that found Antti Niemi and Antti Ranta, and even Kevin Lankinen was one of those guys. But Kyle Davidson inherited no goaltenders. They just Bowman drafted Comezzo. It was part of his last class, but there was the goaltending was barren, and now all of a sudden, you've got a ton of promising goaltenders. You can never have too much of it. Listen,
and especially when you want 3 first-round picks, You can always package a goalie.
Yeah, package a goalie, package a defenseman. Plenty of options out there to get what you want, get what you need. Goaltending is so bad. This situation, teams are so desperate to get a goaltender that teams can't wait to sign Carter Hart. I mean,
we know Stan Bowman's gonna sign Carter Hart. He's never let a little rape get in the way of anything.
I mean, take away all that stuff aside. The guy hasn't played in 2 years, and he was kind of
Yeah.
He had a couple good years in Philly, and then he had some struggles, like a typical young goalie, some ups and downs. But there are teams falling over themselves to bring that guy in. So that shows you how desperate they are for goaltending. So if you have a stockpile of it, if Laurent Brossoit can come into training camp and give you anything and prove he's healthy, someone's going to trade for him.
Oh yeah.
You can never have too much goaltending, and the Hawks are looking pretty good in that aspect. I mean, the rebuild is trending right. Will this turn into Stanley Cups galore? Who knows? We all know all these guys we talk about aren't going to hit. Is Ryan Green going to be an AHLer? We don't know. Is Marek Vanacker going to be an AHL? I hope so. We don't know.
Yeah.
None of these guys. It's all still a crapshoot, but it's definitely there's a lot of reasons to be hopeful, and
I thought Mark McNeil was going to be the next Keith Tkachuk. So,
well, they may have the same physique these days. That'd be about it. But yeah, we've all had bad takes. Bad takes, and we're going to have a lot more bad takes this season as we get into the second balcony here. I think this is a good stopping off point for episode 1. We don't want to bore people to sleep and turn them off for the rest of the season.
Our 16,666 listeners.
Oh, if we should be so lucky.
Well, that's what Harvey Wittenberg always said. That's how many were at the Hawks games. Didn't matter how many people they crammed in the stadium.
Harvey still shows up to almost every home game and sits in the press box.
He's great.
I
got to chat with him. He had some great. If you ever get a chance, ask him ask for some good Pat Stapleton stories. He's got great Pat Stapleton stories.
He is still sharp as a tack. You could mention a guy that played 3 shifts in 1973, 74, and he'll tell you everything about that guy. Still sharp as a tack, great guy. I still get, those are the guys that when I became, credentialed, that I would get starstruck over. It's not the guys in the locker room. Hockey players are hockey players, but it's like the guys that I idolized growing up, like Harvey Wittenberg. Seeing him is a big deal. Or when the scouts are in, and when I was doing the AHL games, the NHL scouts would sit in the same spot, and there were a night I'm sitting next to Dirk Graham, or another night I'm sitting next to Michel Goulet, and I'm like, this is so freaking cool. I totally geeked out when Dirk Graham's text message alert on his phone is the R2D2 chime. I'm like, oh my God, one of my favorite hockey players is a Star Wars nerd too. This is so cool. Either that or his grandson changed it and he doesn't know how to change it back.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so we're going to try and do this every week. That's the target. Maybe more, maybe less. We'll see how it goes. It all depends on how much you guys want it, our lovely listeners. So please subscribe on the YouTube channel, like the episode, subscribe and follow on your podcast services, wherever you get your podcasts. And, Frank came up with the name. It's kind of an homage to the old stadium. The second balcony is where both of us fell in love with this sport, with this team, going to the old stadium, hanging up way at the top, getting the smoke out of your way so you could actually see the ice, not stepping in the water that was always on the floor. That place was quite special. It was
a shithole, but it was our shithole.
It was our shithole, exactly. So yeah, and I also kind of like it also because to me it makes me think of Statler and Waldorf from the Muppet Show, and I think we're going to be a little bit of that too as the season goes on. A couple of couple of old curmudgeons yelling from the top of the rafters. That sounds about right.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up this first episode. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like, and follow. And we're going to be talking to you guys hopefully in a few days.